Penn State football gets another corner in the class of 2027. It's a big group now for the Nittany Lions under Terry Smith. Ryan Snyder, recruiting reporter for BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, is here to discuss that information for you. So please, before we get started, I always forget to say this, so I'm not going to forget today, like and subscribe. Very important. We've had so many of these commitments over the last couple of days, and there's more to come. We're in the midst of a run right now, so make sure if you have not already, like the video and subscribe to Blue White Illustrated here on YouTube. That way you never miss any of these commitment videos. You never miss an opportunity to learn more about the future of the program. So Ryan, hello, welcome, and who are we talking about today?
Terry Smith finally gets his guy, cornerback Kei'Shjuan Telfair out of Euclid, Ohio. We have him at 5'11 and a half, 160. And really, that 160 is the only thing that kind of concerns me about him because it just obviously has to add size with time. And that will happen. And truthfully, what I mean by that is everything else stacks up pretty well. Right now he ends up being the highest ranked player in Penn State's class. We actually, so T-Frank, the industry rankings got updated the other day. I don't know if when you made that graphic, probably because we thought he was going to commit 3 times now. He's up to number 111 in the country now, number 14 at corner and number 4 at Ohio. ESPN updated the rankings on, I think it was Friday, right? So that's probably the difference there for you. But a consensus 4-star player at all 3 sites. And it's actually pretty funny because, usually, especially this time of the year, we see, there's one outlier, right, between the sites. But this one is everybody's pretty much in agreement. And Rivals has them at 116, 24/7 has them at number 113, and ESPN at number 129. So you don't really see that all too often where all 3 sites are within, 16 spots of each other, something like that. So I think it speaks to, his long-term potential and all those kind of things. But, as far as his recruitment goes, Terry Smith, another excellent job of identifying talent early. That was a trend underneath the previous staff and looks to be a trend that'll continue under this current staff as well. Telfair was offered, I believe, is October 2024. And, at the time, he certainly earned some quality offers after that and, into his the following year. But, it looked – I was, what's the right word for it? Like, not confused at the offer at the time, but I was like, oh, who is this player? Intriguing. But then I never could really get a whole lot on him, right? And then with time, that gets out there more and more film gets out there and all these schools start calling. And that's, of course, when we really started digging on Telfair. And truthfully, since the coaching change, I think Telfair has been Terry Smith's pretty much his top guy, right? I mean, you could look at some national guys he's trying to bring in, maybe find a guy here or there that, truly is maybe a tiny bit ahead. But, as far as realistic guys ranked really highly that Terry really liked, Telfair has been that guy. With
a long kind of tail on the recruiting process too, right? Somebody that they have a long-standing relationship with.
Exactly. Yeah. So out of those regional guys, that we've been talking about forever, he's been the one I've had circled here. And, that early offer really got a foot in the door early with Terry. He visited twice. And, the most importantly is, that relationship was built before a lot of other massive schools came calling because sure enough, he added, I think, over 40 scholarships total. So it's a really good looking sheet there. Visited, I think it was Clemson, Michigan, and Notre Dame in the fall. Notre Dame and Clemson were both seriously interested. I think Notre Dame has a few cornerback commits now, and that's where it kind of faded there. But then in March, he went to Nebraska and Ohio State, and then just went to Miami this past weekend. One thing that's interesting to me is in an interview I did with him last week when I thought he was close to committing and he held off. He did mention that he has interest in still taking his official visits. So I'd be kind of curious to learn more, over the last handful of days. Is that still in the mix or not? What kind of discussions you have with Terry Smith and Matt Campbell and all that about those kind of things. So we'll find out with time. But, as far as a player goes, excellent ball skills, has a verified 4.4 second laser time, according to his trainer, Joe Ewell. And, there's a lot to work with here. I forget his exact count of interceptions, but his first 4 games was 4 picks or something like that. He did a phenomenal job this season. And, there's a reason all these schools were after him. So anyway, Terry Smith gets his guy. And, this is the cornerback commit number 4. And also the, like I said, the top ranked commit in Penn State's class now.
I have to ask this just because of the location and because I think other people are going to be asking about this. He's an Ohio native. Ohio State has offered. Is there a concern going forward if he continues to, I mean, he's top 116 in the country, if he continues to improve in that area or he has, outstanding senior film? I know you mentioned the official visits he wants to take on. I'm not trying to downplay his commitment here. This is the moment where we're at the high point. But what is the kind of dynamic there, do you think, with an Ohio native if Ohio were to become serious about their offer here?
Certainly an intriguing one, right? It's how many times have we done that before? Remember with Chaz Coleman, we did that before. There's a couple of guys, late in the cycle. Where
Chaz had a little less of lead time. He
That's fair.
He had a little bit less time.
Look, Ohio State normally gets its guys. It's one. They were very interested in Telfair. He just was. They recruited on a national level, right? And I think there were a handful of guys ahead of him, and they weren't quite ready to take him when he was ready to end it. But was genuine interest there. They are genuinely interested. I just think it's going to depend on how their class shakes out, and maybe how Penn State's class shakes out to some degree too, because there are 4 cornerbacks. And as I said, Telfair did mention that he still had interest in taking official visits in June. So let me get that all figured out and organized, and see if that's still a realistic thing, and we can take it from there. But for right now, I do feel like it's been pretty obvious that Terry Smith has been the relationship that he's the closest with. What Penn State did behind the scenes financially and all those kind of things to get that over the line, I'm not exactly sure about. And of course, how that would maybe impact a second guessing, we could call it. But, right now, I think Penn State fans just need to be really excited about this one because, out of all the commits, like I said, that, Terry's added now corner, this is the one that's been, I think his top guy.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to pour water on anything because I think clearly he's been the most interested in Penn State. Obviously, he committed, but it's a question I know some people are going to ask, so I wanted to make sure I asked it here for them as the representative of the audience here. And if you've got questions about your future and finances, join the club. Everybody does. And here's the one thing we know for certain. It's absolutely important that you take care of it. So here's a message from AJ Freedom Financial. In football and in finance, having a strong game plan makes all the difference. AJ Freedom Financial helps individuals build personalized financial strategies that align with their goals, timelines, and risk tolerance. From investment guidance and retirement planning to 401k rollovers, HSA assistance, and legacy and wealth strategies, AJ Freedom Financial offers thoughtful, one-on-one support backed by industry experience and a commitment to transparency. Whether you're starting to invest, planning for retirement, or you simply want a second look at your financial approach, AJ Freedom Financial is here to help you make informed, confident decisions. Schedule a no-obligation consultation today at www.ajffi.com. Call 866-383-6899 or email info@ajffi.com. Again, that's ajffi.com. Call 866-383-6899 or email info@ajffi.com. AJ Freedom Financial, helping Nittany Lions fans plan for what's next. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Gradient Securities, LLC. Arden Hills, Minnesota, 866-991-1539. Member FINRA, SIPC. Gradient Securities, LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor, offers investment advisory services under the DBA of Gradient Wealth Management. Gradient Securities, LLC, and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting services. Insurance products and services offered through AJ Freedom Financial. AJ Freedom Financial and Freedom Financial Insurance, LLC are not affiliated with Gradient Securities, LLC. So let's take a look at Kei'Shjuan Telfair's highlights here. His high school film is really fun and impressive. It goes again to the conversation about this particular staff liking players that make plays. Offense, defense, special teams does not matter. Kei'Shjuan Telfair makes plays with the football in his hands, or he makes plays, as Ryan pointed out, as a defensive back. So it's a guy who's very ball productive, and I was just trying to pull this up quickly. I'm going to say this off the cuff before I can really look at it again. Got it up. Yeah, I don't think it's even close at this point. He is the best athlete in the class of 2027 that Penn State has committed. He is an athletic. You mentioned the 40 time, but he is great in transition. He's explosive. He's agile. From his athletic profile, there's nothing that's missing from a speed or a movement perspective. Despite being a little bit under 6 feet, I think he's got great length. If you saw the YouTube thumbnail, he has super long arms. So he's a guy that, for his size, can play even bigger, in the catch contested catch situation because he's got that length, and a guy that makes, I think instinctively is a good receiver. So those skills translate over to the defensive side of the ball. And I think he profiles Ryan as a number one corner. So this is a class that has 4 good corners, and we can see kind of where Samaje Robinson goes. We talked about his ball skills and his ability to play, a more physical brand of football. He's got a little bit bigger frame. Telfair is a shadow cover corner. He's the kind of guy, maybe like Octavian Collins, who has the feet to stay with anybody in coverage and be that lockdown number one corner. Now, from a physical perspective, 160, he is slight. He'll need to add more strength, but also I like the intelligence and the versatility where they moved him inside to have him play almost like a Zion Tracy role as an off nickel corner where he'd be playing a little bit of a safety role, but a lot of it was just off man coverage where he's using his intelligence to read and react to situations and is playing a two-way go on the interior, which every once in a while, he had a couple games against good receivers that got him a little bit, but he was never in a situation where he's getting toasted regularly from the defensive, from the receiver perspective. So I really like his coverage skills. I think there's still room to grow there. He might actually be a better receiver right now than he is a corner, even though he's going to come and play corner at Penn State. But the skills, the composite abilities he's got on film, to me, says that this guy can be that number one corner in a class that has a lot of guys that have good high floors. But maybe you wonder where the ceiling is. I don't have a question with where his ceiling is. And when you put in those testing numbers, to me, that's why he's a 91 overall by Rivals, 92 in the composite ranking, and a composite 4-star across the board. So quick recap there of his skills. There's some other things like run defense that I think, Ryan, he can get a little bit better at. I don't think he's a bad tackler. I think it's more about conviction of when to trigger, when to actually attack downhill, and when to try and slow play it. So make sure you don't give up the big play as that outside corner. Maybe I'm just being a little nice there. Maybe he does need to get better overall in run defense, but I don't care. Like when you have the skills that he does in coverage, run defense is a far second order thing that he'll learn at Penn State.
Yeah, that's why they're bringing in Blake Benton to take care of that for him.
Yeah.
No, obviously everybody has to play it. Don't get me wrong, but commitment number 11 now, T. Frank. It's been a heck of a run that they've been on here of late, and like I said, this is certainly, ranking wise, understandably, I think they're top guy. I like Cooper Terwilliger a lot. But there's even a big difference too. I mean, Terwilliger I think was like a little bit outside of 200, where Telfair is almost like 100 spots or so ahead of him, I believe. So. Really big pickup here for Terry Smith. It'll be interesting to see what happens with corner because he has now gone after a few others and he's just aiming high, right? As you should do. Mm-hmm. Keep aiming for, some of these elite guys nationally, get a couple official visits. You never know what'll happen. But, for the most part, we're projecting 3 for corner. And, I still think with time, let's see how things play out with maybe even Telfair and I would say Samaje Robinson, because I still think Samaje Robinson's a player who's going to get a lot of coaches that stopping at Dillard during the evaluation period. But, obviously, I think if they could take all 4 of these guys and sign them right now, obviously they would be very happy with that. So let's see how things progress. There will be a corner or two, I think, that takes an OV this year. But I think Terry Smith should be very happy with these 4 guys he got.
Yeah, and it's a good blend of skills as well. If we're taking a look right now, a snapshot on the day we're recording it here, you have 2 guys that I think are premier outside corner potential guys, and then 2 guys that have nickel versatility, and even I'd say with Caesar, maybe even flirting with safety versatility if they absolutely needed it, but he's got the positional skills to play that nickel or to play outside. So not only do they have the high end now, I think they've got a really high floor. So this is as it sits right now, again, so if you're watching this in 6 months, or you're watching it after he decommitted and you want to like freezing cold takes or whatever, I don't care. Like in this moment, where would you rank this in terms of what you can think of Terry Smith's work so far as like an individual cornerback class? You remember one that had more diversity or talent in it? Certainly, like this is one of the biggest I can remember.
T. Frank. There have been 200 kids that have rolled through this place in the last 3-4 weeks. If you think that I can go back and remember the 2022 recruiting class, the 2018 recruiting class, the 2015 recruiting class, I'm sorry, buddy. That's Fitz for you. Fitz is way better with that kind of memory stuff than me. But I think, look, at the end of the day, like you said, you got a good mixture of guys. And even if we did sit here and compare them, it's not really apples and apples until we get to the end of it because so many guys move up, come down. Yep. It's really kind of one of those conversations for October and beyond, if that makes sense.
Totally. So
I love the question though, but don't do that to me. My mind is I got to build a blue-white list over here in the coming days, man. We're coming down the stretch, though. It's been fun. It's been good to have like recruiting home again, like because it was a boring 6 months to say the least.
Yeah, the only thing, person or entity working harder than you is your Wi-Fi connection. So we'll end it there. Make sure you subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com because maybe one of us will answer that question. Maybe Sean Fitz will write about that this week, about where this ranks in terms of Terry Smith's recruiting classes and talent and depth and all those things. You'll get that information as follow-ups to all this content that we have here about his commitment. But what we have right now is Kei'Shjuan Telfair, the 111th player in the Rivals industry ranking, committing to the Nittany Lions. We'll be back next time news breaks, whenever that is, from Blue White Illustrated.